Hello, everyone. My name is Corentin. I'm a creative at large fashion designer and an evolutionary astrologer. And Soul to Soil is about what happens in the crossing between one chapter and another. And there is something I've learned about reinvention that is deeply inconvenient because you can completely change your life and take the exact same pattern with you. New job, new relationship, new city, new house, new wardrobe, same pattern. And I know this because one of the patterns I've had to look at very closely is people pleasing. That is a big one. I'm going to pause there for a second. People pleasing. For years, I thought people pleasing was fairly simple. Generally, I wanted people to like me. I care about people. I don't enjoy conflict, but eventually I realized that my people pleasing gave me something deeper, a sense of control. Because if I can anticipate what you need, if I can keep you happy, if I'm useful, if I can read the room before anybody else has realized there's a room to read, perhaps I can also control what comes next. Maybe you stay, maybe you don't reject me, maybe there's no conflict, maybe I get to remain included. But suddenly, I realized that being nice really looked slightly more complicated, and why actually it gets louder when you are in a threshold. I also realized that it became strongest during those periods of uncertainty, that crossing those liminal phases. Because if I could not control the change itself, maybe I could try to control everybody's response to me inside it. My unconscious policy was basically, okay, change is welcome, but I would like to supervise it, please, universe. Very serene, very surrendered, obviously. But this is why patterns can become much louder when your life is already changing, because the old source of security is completely disappearing. So the old protection strategy says, excellent, this is my moment. That's rarely the truth, right? And maybe we can look at the pattern, and maybe your pattern look differently. Maybe your pattern isn't people pleasing. Maybe you overwork. If you're constantly productive, perhaps there's no room left to feel uncertain. Maybe you become hyper independent because if you don't need anyone, perhaps somebody gets to disappoint you. Maybe you withdraw, maybe you withdraw, maybe you become controlling. Maybe you need or feel you have to over explain. Maybe you need every choice to be perfect because you are willing to make it. Maybe you overanalyze a decision until the decision has grandchildren. Eventually, these strategies stop feeling like things you do. They start feeling like, that's just who I am. But really, sometimes what looks like personality is partly protection. And I've learned that. So we can have different scenery with the same architecture. What do I mean by that? This is why changing your external circumstances does not automatically create reinvention or an identity shift. You can leave the relationship and enter another relationship where you still abandon yourself. Haven't we all lived that? You can quit the job and build a completely different career where you still work until your body gives up. You can close a business, create another one from the exact same fear and wounds. You can move to a different country, and take your need for approval through passport control. So during a crossing, there are two questions to be asked. What am I living? And what am I carrying? And I do believe that the second one is often more important. And we should not attack our patterns. When we see our patterns, when we are aware of them, let's not turn awareness into another weapon against ourselves. Your strategy probably worked at least once. And people pleasing clearly created belonging for me, for sure. Overworking has helped me feel valuable. Hyper independence may have protected you from disappointment. Perfectionism may have reduced criticism. Control may have made uncertainty survivable. So instead of why am I like this, as an accusation, as being mean towards oneself, let's try what did this pattern once help me do? And then does it still need to run my life now? And that is completely different. We are not erasing the pattern. We are changing its authority. And this is one of my favorite uses of astrology. I may look at the moon for emotional safety, for sure, at Saturn for fear, roles, and control, at Chiron for sensitivities around which compensations and wounds you can develop, Pluto for deeper survival strategies and compulsions. I may look at repeated relationship or work signatures, but the point is never, ever, ever, or you have those placements, therefore it is your personality forever. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That is what is evolutionary astrology about. Because astrology would become another cage. The new age for me is a new cage. And the placement helps us locate the conversation. Then we can ask, how are you actually living it? And could you make a different choice? That is seeing the pattern, reclaiming your agency, and taking one next step. Very different from waiting for the universe to deliver it at your doorstep. So I want to invite you to do a little practice that is not about analyzing the pattern. It's about catching before it becomes behavior. Think of one pattern: people pleasing, overworking, withdrawing, controlling, whatever yours is. Now think of a recent moment when it's activated. You don't have to choose the most dramatic event of your life, something manageable, right? And you can notice, where does the urge begin in my body? Is it my jaw? Is it my chest, my stomach, my shoulders, my hands? Just notice. Put your hand there if that feels okay for you, wherever you feel it. And once you've done that, say, okay, the urge is here, but I do not have to act yet. Take one long inhale, one long exhale. You can pause before the pattern chooses for yourself. What is this pattern trying to protect you from right now? And what would a 10% different response look like? 10%. An example, maybe of a yes, you can say, let me get back to you. Instead of working another 3 hours, go 10 minutes outside. Instead of disappearing, maybe say, I need some time, but I will reply. Instead of sending the message, there's one thing I'd love for you to remember. Real reinvention isn't about changing the scenery. It is changing what you participate in. Otherwise, different life, same architecture. And you don't need to destroy the whole pattern today. That's also the thing. Catch it once, pause, respond differently, that is already an evidence that the pattern is not running the show and that is not the whole of you. That is how you sit in that liminal phase, in that crossing, in that threshold, in the in between. So, comment in the section and maybe you can tell me what you feel uncertain. So, when you feel uncertain, what do you tend to? And no judgment, just recognition, because what becomes visible becomes easier to choose around. 2 minutes counts. See the pattern, reclaim your agency, take the next honest step. And as always, I'll meet you in the in between. See you next time. Take good care of yourself.